You are an Iron Man!
Welcome to episode 56, and today I am joined by Chris Wild. Chris, you're very welcome onto the podcast.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Chris, you and I have been introduced to each other by a mutual friend, Mr. Lars, who has both of us on Facebook, and he sent me a message and said, "You got to speak to this guy." That's really how this podcast has come about. I just grew a set, fired you a wee message, discovered that you're an Iron Maiden fan. You discovered I was an Iron Maiden fan, and here we are.
Yep, that's simple. We must have crossed paths at some point in May on the Ironman run course in Lanzarote as well.
Yeah, am I right in saying you qualified for the World Championships with your performance in Lanzarote earlier in the year?
I would have done, but I already had a slot.
Aha.
And I've always wanted to go to a awards thing and say, no thanks, I've already got one. But I can never be bothered to force myself out of bed. The need for sleep is greater than the need to show off.
Brilliant. No, you did fantastic, obviously, but you're at this quite a while, and that's why I'm excited to chat to you, Chris. And thanks again for agreeing to come on. But you've been doing triathlons and long distance triathlons for quite a while. Your timeline goes back, I suppose, back to the 90s when you did your very, very first triathlon. It was a mini triathlon, I think, in Club La Santa. But before we get into the triathlon stuff, what about Chris Wild, the man before triathlon? What's the gossip?
Yeah, I had a very kind of normal childhood. I was always a bit sporty. My family all played racket sports. Mum and Dad had played tennis. I played a bit of tennis. I got quite good at badminton quite young. Like all kids of our generation, I messed around on my bike. I loved riding my bike. All my mates had BMX bikes. I had a little rally racing bike, but I used to go scrambling in the woods on that and generally messing around. So I was always active, but then kind of and I played football badly at school and cricket badly at school, and because I was asthmatic, I played in goal and played wicketkeeper, so I didn't have to run around too much. I was kind of the wheezy kid at the back and had a note to excuse me from swimming. So yeah, not a great setup for doing triathlon. Then I guess, what was it, probably 1981, I think I went on my first scout camp and got introduced to some very loud, noisy music, which probably had the biggest impact on my life. An Australian lad who'd got some AC/DC, and from then on, that was a path I followed. So yeah, I got massively into heavy metal through the 80s. I mean, for those of us into that kind of music, what a time to be a teenager.
Awesome time. And to tell you what, I'm actually freaking out a wee bit here because I knew we had a couple of things in common already, like with the love of sort of heavy metal music and the love of triathlon. But I was also the wheezy wonder in my class. I was the only kid in my class with asthma, always on an inhaler. And I think that was maybe one of the reasons why I wanted. It's probably maybe a subconscious notion that I was always weak or I wasn't strong enough. And maybe there's a sort of a subconscious drive within me to prove myself. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm getting a bit too deep. But I was asthmatic, was in the Boy Scouts, and then fell in love with Iron Maiden in third year at school. So brilliant stuff.
Yeah, and I guess I never really fitted in at school. I was never in one sort of clique because I played the sports, but I wasn't one of the sporty kids particularly. And I listened to the rock music, but I wasn't one of the kind of stoner kids. And so yeah, I didn't really fit in. So yeah, I was always a bit of a loner at school, I suppose, and then went to university. Well, I guess yeah. When I was 13, my parents suddenly decided that, they needed to take us on a foreign holiday. This was the mid-80s. Everyone was going on foreign holidays. So my mum knew that me and my older brother would be bored senseless on a beach holiday. So she found, I think it was a Thomas Cook or a Thompson's package holiday to this new resort that had just opened called La Santa Sport in Lanzarote. And I was like a kid in a sweet shop. It was just the most amazing place. And because it hadn't been open long, they were pretty much giving the timeshares away. And my dad bought a timeshare, which is probably, I don't know, it's probably something daft like the equivalent of one night stay there now, or something crazy, which gives you a 99-year lease on an apartment for a week every year. So, yeah, we started going there in the mid-80s. So, again, because we were sporty, all through my kind of early years, even when I was at university, and I was just, drinking and partying and going to gigs all the time and occasionally going to a lecture maybe. All through that time, there was still kind of the occasional holiday in Lanzarote in the Easter holidays, or possibly one in November if I was on a study break or something. So I kept the sport up, even though my life was heading kind of in a massively different direction at that point.
You always kept yourself active in a way. Tell me just about the rock and roll years, as we'll refer to them then. So you're a big rocker. You've still got a quality mullet going on there, which is a wonderful thing to behold. It's just a pity we're not videoing this for people to see what luscious locks you have. Anybody that's seen you on a course with the cowboy hat will
They're
know.
correct. They're kind of dyed normally purple or blue, but that fades out after 2 sessions in the pool. So I'm basically an old lady with a purple rinse or a blue rinse these days, which is one of the reasons I race in the cowboy hat, to kind of hide it a bit.
Keep it all together.
Yeah.
Are you an AC/DC fan? Are you a Maiden fan? Are you a Metallica guy? Are you all of the above?
All of the. I liked everything from kind of sort of the country rock, right the way through the Bon Jovis and the hair metal type stuff, right the way through Maiden, Judas Priest, Saxon, through the Anthrax and Slayer, right the way into the kind of almost the death metal kind of stuff. And these days I've even wider tastes. I think I kept my fitness up at university because I'd go out clubbing and I'd basically spend 4 hours doing aerobics on the dance floor, headbanging my way around for an entire night.
That's right. Anybody that's never been to an Anthrax gig or a Slayer concert won't know the cardiovascular demands of a mosh pit. I actually have a scar from a concert I went to in Dublin. I went to see Slayer, Obituary, and Anthrax.
Oh my word.
And got my chin split during the Anthrax gig. A guy whacked into me from behind. I turned around and just as I turned around, his head was coming straight at me. So I got my chin split. They wanted me to go to the hospital, but I refused. I said, no way, I'll be waiting for too long and I'll miss the bus home. Long story short, I went up the road back to Omagh from Dublin with a Slayer t-shirt covered in my own blood. So it was one of the most heavy metal moments of my life.
That's the most rock and roll thing you can do, isn't it? Going covered in your own blood from a Slayer concert.
That's it. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. No, I remember, bus trips from school down to Birmingham to see Ozzy, God rest his soul, and just it was my life. All my money, I used to do part-time work for my dad, and all the money I got was either spent on records or concert tickets. And because I was asthmatic and vaguely sporty, I was sensible enough never to go down the route of smoking. All my friends took all kinds of weird substances, but I knew that wasn't going to be for me. And again, kind of all the cardio stuff luckily kept me skinny. So I came out of university kind of relatively unscathed. Actually, I'd got I was drinking a fair bit, but actually physically I was still in quite good shape, best shape of my life really. I wish I could weigh now what I weighed then, even though I wasn't trying. And then I hit 25, and suddenly you look at a piece of cheese or something and you've put 2 pounds on.
The old metabolism just starts to let you down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So look, you came from a person who threw all their money into rock music and that sort of party lifestyle, and now here we are throwing all our money into triathlon and competitions.
Yeah. But
So
I'm still throwing it into festivals and gigs as well, which is luckily we don't have children, so that frees up a little bit more money and time. But it's music's become an expensive hobby Triathlon, I very much try and do on the cheap. I did say I'd write a book one day on, how to do triathlon on the cheap, because the magazines just annoy me about, what they refer to as the entry level bike that's 7 or 8 grand. It's absolute nonsense. But yeah, don't get me on that soapbox.
That would be a book worth buying, to be honest, Chris. Anyway, we've gone off on a tangent, but I couldn't resist a wee trip down rock and roll memory lane there. So we're at Club La Santa in Lanzarote. You're dabbling a bit with the biking and whatnot. Talk me through that sort of introduction to triathlon and how things progressed for you.
Yeah, and every Wednesday morning they do this mini triathlon, which is just something on their massive daily calendar of activities to do, and it's completely free. And they've got a 50-metre pool, which I'd never seen a 50-metre pool as a kid. I think I was swimming a 20-metre pool as a kid. So a 50-metre pool, you think you get in. Doesn't look bad till you get in, and then you can't see the far end. So it's 400 metres, so eight lengths of that, and then you used to cycle up to the village at the top of the hill, which was an absolute beast, about 200 metres of climbing. But then you can freewheel all the way home, and then it was a run to the next village and back, which is just shy of 5k. And I'd been cycling. I started cycling semi-seriously, just as a cheap way to get to work, because I used to live at the top of a hill, and it's like I can freewheel down the hills, which will let me have 5 minutes more in bed, and then I can just push the bike back up the hill. I think we're all fairly competitive people that get drawn to triathlon, so I got competitive with myself, and it's like, I'm going to cycle another 10 metres up the hill and another 10 metres up the hill, and fairly soon I was cycling all the way back up the hill. So I'd got into cycling, but yeah, by the kind of mid-90s, I realised I wasn't good enough to be a cyclist. And at the time, cyclists were all very serious. You'd go along and try and have a bit of a laugh with them, and they wanted to know what bike you'd got and what gear ratios you'd got, and didn't want to know anything about you and your hobbies and interests. So that didn't really last, but I still loved the cycling. I hated running, absolutely hated running, and didn't really enjoy swimming, but putting all three together just seemed okay for some stupid reason. And I think a lot of triathletes don't particularly like swimming or one of the three. But somehow when you put all three together, it seems to make sense.
It's a weird recipe that kind of works, doesn't it? There's a satisfaction to be had after you've had the 3 courses.
Yeah. So I did that a couple of times, and then it's like, I'm actually all right at this, because the swim is over moderately quickly and you can catch up a bit on the bike, and then the run's just what it is. And it was really good fun, and everyone seemed to be in it to have fun. And then I kind of started doing little local triathlons, and again, one of them was basically on a farm, and the swim was in a pit. I think a lake would be too kind. I think it's probably an old brick pit or something that had just filled in, but it just smelt of cows.
Lovely.
You couldn't see. It was one kind of loop there, which is 300 metres, and then an off-road bike ride through some fields, and then a run across a bog. I remember one year actually stepping out of my shoe, because I'd gone for elastic laces. I was getting a bit fancy, and just pulled my foot right out of them. So I was doing these random little local events, because late 90s, early 2000s, there weren't that many triathlons on. It was still a really obscure, weird sport. But obviously, being at Club La Santa, I'd seen the posters around for this weird Ironman thing, and it was like, what is that? That's just mad. We went to Australia to visit relatives for the millennium, and I thought, I'm taking my bike, because I was proper into cycling. It's like a big good way to get around, explore the country. So I went to a shop and bought a second-hand bike box, and it had an Ironman sticker on it, because Ironman used to do their own branded wetsuit stuff, which eventually became Blue 70, but it had one of their Ironman wetsuit stickers on, and I took it off. It's like, I can't have that on my bike box, because I'm never doing anything that stupid. ... Yes, roll forward not many years, and I suppose what started it, again, I was going to Club La Santa twice a year. We'd go out in basically school holidays. My dad had bought a timeshare, so we had one at Easter-ish, and then one October half term, and they started doing some bike weeks in October half term. So again, my first experience of a group ride was with Bjarne Riis, who just won the Tour de France, because Club La Santa's Danish owned, and they thought, we want to celebrate this and put on this bike week with him. And I was a reasonable enough standard to be able to cycle in the group. And I can still vividly remember kind of a fairly long ride in Lanzarote, which is always going to be warm and windy. just not daring to drink because I was sitting next to Bjarne Riis, and it's like, well, if I wobble, I'll knock him off. I mean, in hindsight, it would have done him a massive favour if he'd missed the whole of the next season with a broken collarbone. But at the time, it was just like, this is insane. What am I doing here?
Brilliant.
So yeah, loads of fond memories of being out there. And I think if you spend too much time at Club of Sandwich, it's inevitable you're going to end up doing stupid things in sport. So yeah, chatting to one of the guys who worked there, he said, we're going to do a triathlon camp, because other people have been running triathlon camps there for a long time. People like Robin Brew, the ex-pro triathlete, and Richard Hobson, the ex-pro triathlete. And I'd never really fancied any of those. But if it was a Club de Santa one, it was like, well, that's kind of in my comfort zone. I know people. This is going to be safe. So I said, right, sign me up. And then the email came through a few weeks later, and it was like, long distance triathlon camp. It was like, that was never mentioned, long distance. I've not even done an Olympic distance yet. But I had a chat with the missus, and she said, well, you've kind of spoken about this Ironman thing, and I know you sort of want to do one if you can. So do this camp, and if it goes well, do an Ironman the next year. So yeah, I did this camp in 2005. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, my disclaimer is now it's all her fault. She made me do Ironman.
She'll be delighted whenever she listens to this.
Oh yeah. She know. I mention it every time I get those rolled eyes and tuts about races and stuff.
Yeah, don't blame me. Like, don't be shooting the messenger type thing. Yeah.
You created this monster.
So your first ever full distance Ironman was Lanzarote then?
Ironman Lanzarote
2006.
I did my first Olympic in 2005, and I wasn't in a club at that point, but I was training with some guys I got to know at a gym, and they were so supportive. I'm still friends with loads of them, and yeah, it's great. We eventually did kind of form a club together, but they said, well, if you can do it at a standard distance, you can do a half Ironman, as it used to be called, and I think it was September 2005. There was one on in Longleat, which turned out to be the very first 70.3 when they rebranded it to make it sound better. So I did the very first 70.3. And back in that day, you had to tick a box if you wanted to qualify for the World Championships, which was mad. And obviously, being my first half-distance race, I didn't tick a box. And they had so many slots because it was the first one. I actually qualified, but couldn't go because I hadn't ticked the box. So I missed out on a trip to Florida on that one, which was disappointing. But yeah, I was terrified going into that. My brother, we camped, and I camped with my brother the night before under some trees in the pouring rain, and everyone had put their nutrition on the bikes, and they came out in the morning, and the slugs were eating the power bars and stuff. It was
lovely.
It was a bit of a random one, but he's got a photo of me looking as green as the lake. I was absolutely terrified because I'd only done 2 open water swimming races before a mass start half Ironman. But yeah, by the time I got to, and because that went well, I thought, right, I'll enter to Lanzarote. What's the worst that could happen? I don't get round. And actually, by the time I got to the start line, I remember standing on the beach. And again, back then it was a mass start. There's probably only 800-900 people doing it back then. But I just stood there, really calm, thinking, well, I've done the work, which was interesting because I hated running. I used to go for a run the week before a race just to make sure my trainer's still fitted. But obviously, training for an Ironman, you've got to learn to enjoy the running. So I'd learned to enjoy the running to a point. So I stood on the beach thinking, no, anything from now is a bonus. Even if I die in this washing machine of a swim, then I've achieved something, and this is something no one can ever take away from me. Getting to the start line of an Ironman and feeling like I deserve to be there. So yeah, weirdly, I don't get nervous before an Ironman.
That's a lovely way of putting it, Chris. It's probably something that I haven't really dwelled on at any great length throughout the podcast, and we've done over 50 now at this stage. But it is worth noting. It's worth kind of taking a wee pause and saying, we really don't give ourselves enough credit for getting to that start line, because it's the months and months and months that precede the start line, and them early mornings and the long, dirty, cold, wet, windy nights running around the towns, and I've only done 2 full distances, but I've done quite a few smaller distances and then 3 or 4 halves. But like you, I don't feel particularly nervous because I know I'm going to get round it, because I have done the work.
I know we all obsess over, the results and the performance and the times, and I'm as self-critical as anyone. But the actual race is such a lottery. Anything can happen, and various things have happened that are out of your control. Some things are in your control. Sometimes you just have a bad day. But that doesn't take away from all the work you did or possibly didn't do before the race, leading up to it, which is kind of what you should take away. I know it's a very
100%.
common phrase, but the
Absolutely.
journey is more important than the destination, really.
You did your first Ironman then in 2006, and when we were chatting before the podcast, that was supposed to be one and done.
Yeah.
Where did it all go wrong, Chris? Because holy shit, you have done a few. Like, well, we'll not give it away just quite yet, but you have done a few
Yeah.
events
Yeah.
since
I guess
2006.
back then they used to print the results in a little paper booklet, and I picked that up from Club de Santa reception 2 days later or whatever, and started flicking through it. And at that point, it was game over, because you go, oh, if I'd have done that 20 seconds quicker, I'd have been 3 places higher, and if I'd done that 10 seconds quicker, I'd have been a little bit higher. Yeah, at that point, it's like, I need to do this better. I did so much better than I expected. I think I did just over 12 hours, and I was hoping to finish. I mean, even now, the main aim of any race is to finish, because, like I say, anything can happen. So just getting round is a blessing. But I'd got that. I want to finish, but then I'd also got a time that I was prepared to tell people. It's like, I want to do 14, something like that. That would be really good. And then I had a secret one in my head that I didn't tell anyone. I'd got a mate who worked at Club of Santa, who'd done it the year before, off about 3 weeks training, because he was just super fit. And he did 12 and a half hours. And it's like, I would absolutely love to beat him, but there's absolutely no chance. And yeah, that kind of motivated me on race day. And I did just about beat his time.
So it was the idea, whenever you were looking at the numbers afterwards, then, that you were thinking, I could have, and actually I could. You're probably thinking, I did my swim, but it wasn't really pushing as hard as I could have. Or I remember the bike, and I was afraid of the bike, and I didn't want to overcook it on the bike. And you think, well, I could
Yeah.
definitely buy some time with the bike, and then
Yeah,
gathered momentum.
it was about 3/4 of the way around the bike course that I realised I'd never actually cycled 112 miles. I'd done a few century rides, but I'd never actually clocked up the full distance. And as someone who didn't come from a running background, I'd never run a marathon, because you generally don't run a marathon in Ironman training, because it's just too much stress in one go. So I knew I'd never run a marathon, but it was only halfway around the course that I realised I'd actually never cycled 112 miles either. So I knew I could do both of those better. I mean, the marathon was a complete unknown to me. I didn't know. And I had this stupid thing in my head. It's like, it's swim, bike, run. So I tried to run every step of the marathon. And by the end, it must have been comical, because I was sort of running. Well, my arms were probably running, but my legs weren't. And I've not done that since, because it's just a stupid thing to do. Walk the aid stations, because you can get a bit of recovery, get some food in properly. So yeah, I wanted to get faster, so I immediately signed up for the next year. But then the problem with it being in May is your season's over in May, and that's no good. So then you think, well, I better do another one.
Yeah, what's a man to do with himself between May and next May?
And exactly. So I think 2007, Ironman UK was still down in Sherborne, in Dorset, which is a long way from here, up north of Manchester. But I thought, I want to do that. I got some club mates doing it, so it's like, right, I'm doubling up. So I did Lanzarote in May, and then I was signed up for Sherborne in August, I think it was. But I had a problem with my IT band. I think I did a little local half in June or July or something, and tweaked my IT band, and it never quite got better. So halfway around the run on my second Ironman, they used to have a footbridge you used to have to run over, up a bridge down the other side, and it was all steps. It was mad. And coming down there, it just went ping. And it's like, oh, well, I've got time to walk it, not a problem. And it's up and down a dual carriageway for 3 hours. There was a St John's ambulance just round the corner. And I remember getting in there, and I said, have you got a bandage or something? Just put a bit of compression on it. And they said, well, yeah, we have, but we'd advise you to stop, really. And I just remember the shock. And it's like, oh, that hadn't even crossed my mind. Why on earth would I want to stop? I've got time. And then how do you explain to people, how many Ironmans you've done? Well, I don't know. There was this weird thing going in my head. So yeah, I just got a bandage off them and just hobbled around for another 3.5 hours or something crazy. So at that point, it was like, right, you're clearly not designed for doing 2. So I went back to just the one in Lanzarote again the next year. And then I found out they do this medal in Lanzarote, which used to be, if you do 5 Ironman Lanzarotes, you get a special medal. And we're suckers for a medal, aren't we?
Absolutely, yep. That was a shiny carrot that you thought, well,
yeah,
I've already got a couple done. I mean,
yeah,
it'd be silly not to, really.
I'm almost halfway there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I mean, these days I call it the Special Idiots Medal because there's nothing big or clever about keep doing this to yourself.
It's just wonderful marketing by
yeah.
yeah.
And in fact, now I think last year they started it. They start giving it after your second one, so that's really achievable to get people to go back, isn't it? And it's just the ribbon that changes on it that goes from 2 to 5 to 5 to 10, and then 11 to 20
yes,
or something.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, something crazy. So yeah, we got this understanding at home that I was allowed to do 2 Ironmans a year, and that was good. And then 2011, I had Ironman UK moved to Bolton 2009, so I got to race it at home. I could sleep in my own bed the night before, and then it's just a 30-minute drive down to the swim start, which is amazing. So that how can you not do that when you've got an Ironman almost on your doorstep?
Yeah,
I mean, at one point the course was 4 miles from my house. I just used to ride on the course constantly. So that was perfect. And then 2011 I got very, very lucky and had a good day, and ended up getting a Kona slot, which I never thought was going to happen because there used to be 2,000 athletes racing around the slots for all the races going on, which is kind of what we're going back to next year, which is going to be interesting. So I think probably the highlight of everything I've ever done in triathlon was standing outside Bolton Wanderers football ground, the Reebok Stadium as it was then called, on the phone to my missus saying, fancy a trip to Hawaii? That's payback, isn't it? For all the all the early mornings in Bolton and Porto del Carmen and random locations. So that was a special moment. So that became 3 Ironmans in 1 year. That was allowed, special circumstances.
Because you had to go to Kona. What did you make of Kona whenever you were out there? I've heard mixed reports on it. It's a fantastic thing. It's a phenomenal achievement, first and foremost, to get there, to qualify for it. I suppose it's the triathlon mecca.
Yeah, it was.
But I've heard mixed reports just around the actual course. The swim's supposed to be like something from an aquarium. It's supposed to be just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, the swim's like
humidity and all, and the bike course a wee bit barren, is it? Or
the humidity is insane. Yeah, you just sweat constantly. I've been lucky enough to go twice, and I'm still waiting for a good race. So there's going to have to be a third time when I've saved up another £250,000 or whatever it's going to cost next time.
Yeah, that's your own carrots now that you're creating.
Yeah,
you have to go for 3.
It's a stunning place. It's I guess it's a kind of spiritual place for triathletes if you want to go that way. The Americans managed to also make it very Disney-ish, which just seems wrong as well. So I've got very mixed feelings about it, and it's full of triathletes. That's a good thing and a bad thing, because I think triathletes as a tribe can be very self-absorbed and a bit entitled, and I like to be away from them. Luckily, because I qualified at Bolton, which was like 8 weeks before the race or something, there was no accommodation in Kona, so we stayed way down about 10 miles further south, which was quite nice to be out of it. And the country there is amazing. So again, for me, this was payback. So this was a holiday for the missus, and then you just have to excuse me because I need to go and wrap my bike one day and then mess around the next day, and then we can go back to having a holiday again. So we went down the bottom of the island swimming with turtles. We went up the volcano to see some smoke. It was doing nothing, but for somebody who spends a lot of time in Lanzarote, even smoke coming out of a volcano is quite impressive. So back to your question. Sorry, I do get sidetracked. The course, the swim is is amazing because, like you say, you're swimming in a fish tank with a bit of a current, but a bit of buoyancy. It's my first non-wetsuit swim, and again, mass start. I didn't realise how much protection you get from a wetsuit, from fingernails, etc. So the swim start was quite painful.
Salt water and the scrape. Yeah.
Yeah, fingernails, and as you go around buoys and stuff, it gets very congested and stuff.
Never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, the bike course, it's a bit like Lanzarote. I mean, that's why we have Ironman Lanzarote, because Kenneth Gaskin worked at Club de Santa, went to Kona in the very early days of Club de Santa, and went, this is a bit like home. We should do an Ironman there. So for me, I love the bike course. Yeah, there aren't people standing shouting at you all over the place. There are huge elements of the course where it is you and the elements are hot and windy, and the wind, I mean, I know you've experienced the winds in Lanzarote and it's just brutal, but in Hawaii, it just comes from random directions. You're cycling, you think you're cycling in a straight line, and one minute you've got a tailwind, and the next minute you've got a headwind, and you haven't changed direction, and it really gets in your head. And again, coming back the last 10, 15 miles, I'm feeling a bit sorry for myself. And this lady in 2 age groups above me comes cycling past, and it's like, yep, you're here with the best in the world. Just man up and get on with it and enjoy it. The run is again, it's two completely different things. You've got Ali'i Drive, which has got shops and cafes and just so many spectators and fans. It's amazing. And then you head out onto the Queen K Highway, which is just loneliness and baking and no shelter, and you're running away from where you want to be for miles on end. If you're lucky, there's still people coming in on the bike course, which makes you feel a little bit better. Although when you're coming in on the bike course, you can see the other guys who are 9 miles into their run, and you think, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. But yeah, as I was coming back towards town, I could see the sun sort of setting, and at this point, it's like, I've never finished in the dark, and I'm not stopping now. It gets dark really early in Hawaii, so I think, yeah, I just scraped under 11 hours just as the sun was still clipping the water.
Brilliant stuff.
But yeah, I'd had really bad stitch on the run. Stopped me in my tracks at about mile 4, and I thought, I'm not going to fight this. I'm here for a holiday. I'm here to experience it and enjoy it. So I just kind of jog walked it out, and just made the most of it. And I thought I'd be massively emotional when I finished, but actually it was like, nah, could have done better. But yeah, no, it's a magical place. I'd recommend anyone visiting, but probably not when Ironman's on.
Don't go near it.
I used to have a friend who used to go and stay in the race hotel for 3 weeks before the race, and then in race week he'd move out because the price, back then went from something like $50 to $150. It's probably $1,000 a night now. But it's one of 2 or 3 big events they have on the island, so they maximise their income, which fair enough.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Well, here it didn't put you off anyway, Chris. Despite the heat and the humidity and the sweating and the
well, because I'm so self-critical, there's always like, I can do better. I think the best race I ever did was Lanzarote 2010 when there was no wind, which was just odd. A friend who used to work there called it Ironman Light because it was a day with no wind. So I think I knocked about 45 minutes off my PB.
Class.
And I thought, well, do I stop now? Should I stop? Because it's not going to get any better than that. I've had what for me is probably the perfect day, but I couldn't. I was hooked by that point. So yeah. And actually the next year we were back to kind of normalish conditions, and I did manage to go a bit faster. I think I got faster the first 7 times I did it, and then got slower for the next half a dozen or something. And then they changed the course, and now it's just gone mad.
So see from how many times have you done Lanzarote? Let's just cut to the chase. How many times have you completed that full distance in Lanza?
I've done it 19 times now. I've done it every year since 2006, apart from 2020 when we didn't have a race, when I did it in my back garden instead. That's
astonishing. I mean, I did it once, and I see right now I'm not on for doing that again. It is a hard course. It's a tough course.
Yeah, it's a very tough course, but it's a very fair race. You get a little bit of drafting here and there, but not really much. And it's a tough race. It's a challenging race. I spend a lot of time out there, and these days I help out on training camps at Club de Santa as well. So it was always a home race for me, even back in 2006, because I knew people who worked at Club Santa. I'd get more support there than I was getting at Bolton, which is 20 miles down the road from here. So it's always been like a home race for me, and it's kind of, yeah, without wanting to get too airy-fairy about it all, it's kind of like a spiritual home place. It's such a magical island. People go there and they either love it or hate it, and most triathletes go there and love it because it's just the ultimate worst place to train. Although they've improved all the roads now. You know, back in the 90s and early 2000s, the roads were appalling. And then suddenly they started doing them up, and now they're just amazing, you know.
Yeah, perfect, aren't they?
Yeah. But you don't go any quicker because it's still up or down.
That's right.
Yeah.
So next year will be your 20th time, all being well, and with the help of God, you get there in one piece. If you go round, and I've no doubt that you will, 20 times finisher. There can't be too many other guys that have done that.
I still say to everyone, I'm still a beginner at this. You know, you go to some of the big races and there's guys who've done literally hundreds. There's a Canadian guy, John Ragg, who's done over 250 Ironman races. You know, there's a handful of guys who've done more than 20 in Lanzarote, and thankfully I know a lot of them now because it's like a family race. It's quite a small race. It attracts a lot of people who've done it a few times, and so you get to know them. The guy who's done the most is a guy from Gran Canaria called Carmelo, and I've got to know him the last couple of years. He doesn't speak very good English. My Spanish is slightly better than it was, but considering I've been going there most of my life, it's appalling. And he's done 26 or 27 now. I mean, there's only been 33 or 34.
It's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah. But I was all excited about my 20th, and I was even trying to persuade some mates to come out of retirement and come and do my 20th with me. And then I got there this year, and like I say, the special achievements medal they hand out, suddenly realised that actually the bracket is 11 to 20 and then 21 to 29. So actually 21's the important one, because that's when I get a new string on my medal, which is obviously clearly the most important thing in the world.
They just keep introducing more carrots.
At 21, I get to stand on the stage with Carmelo, just the two of us, because I don't think... again, there's a really, really lovely Dutch guy called Albert who's done 25, and unfortunately he's got a hip problem at the moment, and his dad's not been well, so he hasn't raced the last couple of years. But he still comes out to watch, bless him. He's an absolutely lovely guy, and I think if you do that race too many times, it does change you, but hopefully for the better, and makes you realise you're an insignificant little dot in the grand scheme of things, because the wind's going to win every single time.
Aye. So 21, a 21 time finisher would put you into a very, very small group of people that have achieved more than 20 finishes. There's only 3 or 4 of you then. Would that be right? 3?
Probably half a dozen who've done 20 or more.
Aye.
I guess, these days with AI and that kind of stuff, you can probably get it to look through all the finisher sheets and work it out precisely, but I'm not that bothered, really. I'm not planning on being last man standing, but yeah.
Now, I actually can't believe I'm about to say this, but, I could sit here and chat to you all day, because you've done 19 and you're on your way to doing 21 Ironman Lanzarote. But I have to bring ourselves back to the journey, because the journey isn't over at 20 or 21. All the time, whenever you're doing these Lanzarote pilgrimages to your spiritual home,
good word, yeah.
You're also banging out Ironman Bolton.
Yeah.
And in between times too, if you're feeling a bit saucy, you're going somewhere else maybe and taking a wee sneaky look at different wee spots around Europe and here and there and everywhere. You kind of got yourself into a way where you're doing 2 or 3 Ironman events per year for quite a while.
Yeah, Bolton 2015, I had a big crash on the bike. There's a big climb called Sheep House Lane that used to be quite famous. I think the new Black Hill one in Leeds is going to surpass that massively. But Sheep House Lane was a big climb on Bolton, and I knew it really well. And there's a nice descent off it, which I know like the back of my hand. And coming down there on a slightly damp morning, someone had completely got the corner wrong, skidded off, and parted company with his bicycle. He was leaning on a fence. His bicycle was lying in the middle of the road. So I came round the corner, full on speeding up to go down the descent, and there's this bicycle in front of me. Now, unfortunately, I'm Bolton used to be just after the Tour de France had been on, and you see all these guys in the Tour de France bunny hopping all sorts of things, don't you? They can pretty much bunny hop a car on those bikes. So my option was ride into the fence or try and jump the bike. And trying to get a heavy old TT bike off the ground didn't work. So I went straight over the handlebars, skidded down the road on my head, back, everything for about 100 yards. And then got up and thought, right, what do I do now? It's cold. I think I leant on a fence post and had a minor dose of Tourette's for a while. At which point the other guy kind of sheepishly disappeared quite quickly.
He thought, I'm getting out of the way.
So I thought, well, I better mend this puncture because I think my back wheel had hit his chainring or something. Luckily, I was riding the old tubular tyres with the inner tube sewn in, and they're a lot easier to change than people think. I think if I'd been on clinchers, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But I thought, right, just change the tyre and roll down the hill and see how you are. And then at least if you do need to get in an ambulance, you're not on the top of a freezing cold hill. But again, I'm stubborn and stupid and don't know what's best for me. So, yeah, turn left up the next hill, literally cried all the way up it because I'd got 2 cracked ribs and a load of road rash.
Nasty.
Did the rest of it. I mean, this was like, 15 miles into the bike course, maybe less. 3-lap course. And we used to have this amazing place where our club was called Colt Alley. It's still on all the Ironman UK kind of promo stuff on the app and stuff. And it was basically a Northern England version of Windmill Hill, I suppose. Not as steep at all, but you were riding through that funnel of supporters, and it was our club, and they're brilliant to everyone. You know, we'll shout and cheer for any athlete at all. But when we came through, I mean, on a good day, it's terrible because suddenly you realise you were pushing 600 watts through there because you'd had massive adrenaline surge, and you get on the court and you're absolutely exhausted. But on that particular day, I went through after my first lap, and apparently I was green. And 2 of the girls just burst into tears. I was like, "Oh God, what's he done?" That's the only time I've ever lost my temper with a spectator, really, because people just shout stuff for encouragement all the time. And next time up this Sheep House Lane climb, was going really slowly, and someone shouted, "Looking good," and I think I just shouted back at them, "Are you serious?" Because my shirt was ripped, I was bleeding, and I think it was worse on the back. So then as I went past them, "Sorry, keep going." At one point, one of the race officials pulled up next to me in his car, and he's like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "I've had better days, but I'm okay. I'm still going." And I got to T2. Someone had phoned the missus and said, "Chris is okay. He's just come past on the bike, but he's clearly had an off." So she knew I was okay because I was still riding. So as I rode down into T2, one of the most painful things the whole day was the laughing I then had, seeing her holding up a tubey grip, because she obviously thought I'd kind of like sprained my ankle or cut my arm or something. It's like, what am I supposed to do with that? Put my entire body inside it. So, I got into T2, wrapped my bike, went into the tent. There's a guy from St John's Ambulance there. And I was like, "Oh, brilliant. Have you got any safety pins?" He's like, "What do you want safety pins for?" It's like, "Oh, well, my number's hanging off. I need to put it back on properly." And he looks at me, "And what about all this?" And kind of just
what about the skin and shit that's hanging off?
Like, I'll deal with that at the finish. He's like, "You lot are just wrong, aren't you? You're all mad."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay. So I walked with the missus for a bit, and then she had to go and move the car. And there's a nice big downhill section. I was like, "I'll have a bit of a jog," and I overtook someone. And it's like, well, now this is funny, because I thought I was having a bad day, and I probably just made them think they'd had a terrible day. Because by this time, I'm racing in a cowboy hat, which we probably need to go back to at some point. So they've just been overtaken by someone ripped to shreds in looking like something out of a zombie movie. Which probably made them think they were having the worst day of their life because they started hallucinating. Yeah, so
you're looking like Eddie from Iron Maiden at this point.
Well, actually, I used to have him on the back of my race kit. So he was ripped to shreds.
Brilliant.
But I got it done. There's a couple of other races I really shouldn't have finished, but
well, there's whenever you're starting, you're finishing, come hell or high water.
Yes, and I know people don't finish, and sometimes there are factors out of your control, and I've been lucky. I mean, yeah, I've had some bad luck, but I've always been lucky that there's always been a solution. And yeah, 2 or 3 of the races, I should have walked off the course for my own health, and I massively respect people who are sensible enough to do that. There's no way I'm saying you should finish if you've started, because quite often that's the really stupid thing to do. But I'm just really stupid. I'm really stubborn. Yeah, I haven't DNF'd one yet, and the math says it's coming. So I won't be too disappointed, really, when my luck runs out and I do have to DNF one. It's just, yeah. People always say, oh, what time are you aiming for? What time are you aiming for? What you're doing this? You'll smash that. That's easy for you. It's like, no, anything can happen. We all need that luck on the day.
Yeah.
And you can increase your chances by having done the training, having looked after your bike, knowing how to fix stuff, knowing how to bodge stuff, getting in the right mental headspace. But if it's not your lucky day, if you have a serious mechanical, then yeah, I'd probably try and push my bike for 40 miles. But sometimes it's just not your day, and that's fine. There's no shame in not finishing at all. Like I say, you've got to the start line. That's the amazing achievement. The rest of it's just luck.
In the spirit of anything can happen, none of us could have predicted what happened in 2020. The great pandemic of 2020, the old COVID pandemic, shut everything down. You still managed to squeeze in an Ironman in 2020.
Yes, I was at Club La Santa when COVID hit. We were doing a training camp in February, and the race director from Ironman Estonia, Iron, who's won Lanzarote Ironman a couple of times, he helped out on the camps. So he was there, and he was talking to his doctor at breakfast, and this guy's going, oh, there's something really serious. And I go, it's just something in the Far East. They have these things occasionally. It's bad news, but what's the problem? And then obviously it hit Spain before it hit the UK. Spain went into lockdown while I'm at Club La Santa, and literally they locked us in. It was like being the kid in the sweet shop, but you're locked in the corner and you're not allowed to do anything. So, yeah, to start with, we could still use the swimming pools, we could still use the running track, but we couldn't go out of the complex. I mean, it's mad. You're in an island in the middle of nowhere. My missus was saying, stay there. You're asthmatic. This is the safest place on the planet you can probably be.
Yeah.
Don't come home. Not that I don't love you, but I love you enough to want you to stay there. And I was like, can I get a little Wahoo kicker or something for the apartment? Because I'll be in heaven if I can. But no, and then eventually the Spanish government said, you all have to leave. So I paid Mr. Ryanair €500 or whatever for a one-way ticket home and came home. But yeah, after the first lockdown, obviously it was slightly different here in the mainland UK, but there was a bit of a lull kind of in the summer, and we were allowed to move around. Ironman Tallinn was the start of August. Their flight restrictions were based on the number of cases per 100,000 or something like that. So I was tracking this number for weeks, and then I got a message from Einar Johansson, the race director, and he said, Chris, if you're going to come early and get in early, because the numbers are going the wrong way. So you need to be here before that Sunday, because then they might stop flights. So I'm lucky I can work remotely. I've always got loads of report to write, and a couple of friends were also in a similar boat, and somehow the missus managed to wangle the time off work. So we kind of dashed out there just before the rates went high. But it's such an amazing organisation and such an amazing country. They actually got the government to change the law to allow athletes competing in a race. There was a World Rally Championship stage on the same weekend. So for these two sporting events, they changed the law to make exceptions that if people did the appropriate testing and isolation if they had to and blah, 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 then they could travel. And
that's the way it should have been.
We managed a full Ironman, and I think it was like, there was no there were very few volunteers. It was grab stuff off tables. Your bags were on the floor next to your bike and stuff like that. So no tents. It was just so much common sense had got into it. It was just amazing. And the joy of being out there and doing it.
Being able to do it, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I didn't actually need to go out early, but it saved a bit of extra testing and stuff. But yeah, just the will to put something on was just amazing. And again, he said to me, get out here, you're bound to get a slot because there's going to be no one here. And actually, loads of people turned up, including probably 200 doped up Russian athletes at the time, just come across the border. I think it's the worst I've ever finished. I think probably actually the main reason was there were so many triathletes who were just desperate to race that all the good guys suddenly identified there's a race on. And I got absolutely battered. I mean, I think I did just over 10 hours and came probably 25th in my age group or something. It's a quick course. That's another race I'm addicted to now. You see, I did the first one in 2018. Did 10 hours and 41 seconds or something hideously close to breaking 10 hours. So I've been going back every year to try and beat it and haven't even got close. I'm normally 10 or 15 minutes the wrong side. So, yeah, back again this year for another try.
2021, you continued with your Ironman addiction, as you referred to it.
Yeah, Lanzarote.
Christ, though, right enough. The heat must have been savage.
The heat was savage. The wind, I've never known anything like it on the run. It was blowing barriers around on the run course. And again, we had split transitions down all kind of weird places, and it was all self-service medals, and yeah. But yeah, just the joy to be racing again. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
And you qualified in 2021 for the Worlds as well. Was that at Lanzarote or was that at a different?
No, the 2021 World, which was in Utah, was a weird one. I actually got an invite to that one because they moved it, because it couldn't happen in Kona. They suddenly moved it to St. George in Utah. And originally, people had signed up to Ironman St. George. So they had about 1,000 people signed up to Ironman St. George, and they said to them, well, we're making this the World Championship. Do you want to race it or not? And I'd just assume everyone would go, wow, yes, please. But I think a few people, and again, quite a lot of first-timers and stuff, had gone, my God, that's so intimidating. No, I'll defer.
Mm-hmm.
So they had quite a lot of space. The way they worked the World Championships that year is I think they gave people the option of doing St. George or Kona. So most people, the dream's always been Kona for everyone right up to that point. So a lot of people said, no, I'm waiting for Kona because, things are heading the right direction. We're all going to be racing back fairly soon. So they had space in St. George. So the first thing they did was they said, right, well, I guess effectively, who's given us the most money over the years, and how can we phrase that nicely? So they had this, what was it called, Legends and Loyalty or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So I got an email just randomly one afternoon saying, do you want to go to the World Championships in St. George? I was like, wow. So yeah, you've got 48 hours to reply. This email will self-destruct in a day. So we had a chat, and I was like, America, not sure. Looked on a map, and it's like, this place is stunning, absolutely stunning. So it's like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah, we went out there in May 2022. Yeah, the 2021 World Championships was in 2022. So yeah, went and did that, and that's probably one of my favourite races I've ever done. Partly the scenery, again, the fact I'm at a World Championships again, which is just, I definitely thought that was one and done, and through no choice of my own, no matter how addicted and stupid I was, I thought, I'm not qualifying again till I'm 80. So to be invited, I felt a bit of a fraud because I've got some mates who qualified who were going, and it's like, well, you've qualified, and they're like, you've missed out by so little, so many times. I think you're probably deserving. And in the end, they kind of offered it to quite a few. I think they offered it to all world athlete, gold status athletes and stuff. So yeah, it was a lovely event. Stupidly hot. I think it was 38 degrees on the run, but a dry heat, not a humid heat.
Aye.
And
a different heat.
And then 2 weeks later, I did Ironman Lanzarote.
Did you qualify then for a second World?
Yeah, so
that year,
like I say, 2 weeks after Utah, I did Lanzarote, and I think I came 6th in my age group, which I was super pleased about because Lanzarote is such a tough place. And there were 5 slots. So it's like, again, had the chat. Shall we go? Bless her, the missus said, well, I can't get the time off, but when you have kids and you want them to do well and you're always wanting them to have the best experiences. She said, we haven't got kids, you're my kid. So
You're the big kid.
You go. So I went to the slot allocation, and the age groups were rolling here, there, and everywhere. My age group was just like bang, 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 5 slots, 5 taken. A friend who'd come over with me, amazingly, she wasn't going to come, but her husband came over because he's a good mate and I coach him. She came over just on the off chance, and she got a slot. So that was just perfect. But I did pick up a slot at Bolton. And obviously I got Tallinn to do as well because I was failing miserably at breaking 10 hours. So and then I went out to Kona for that weird 2-day race with your mate Shane McGill.
The highlight of the race was bumping into McGill. So in 2022 then, you did Utah World Championships.
Yeah.
Then Lanzarote Ironman.
Then Bolton.
Then Tallinn. And then you finished it off with a wee trip to Kona.
Yeah. I kind of hoped there was never going to be 2 World Championships in 1 year again. So the chance to do that was just,
That's something special. That's unique. There can't be too many other.
There were quite a few people who did both.
Was there?
You get there and you see the rucksacks on the plane, and there were quite a few people with the Utah rucksack. I mean, mainly who lived on the west coast of the States, where both races are fairly local, I suppose.
Aye.
But there's more really, really stupid people than you think. And there's also, one of the amazing things about triathlon is there's also so many people with so much disposable income. It's terrifying.
Clearly.
Yeah. I mean, all the conversations that have been going on recently about, what do we do with the World Championships, and they've decided to take it back to Kona. All the stuff I've seen on YouTube and read on stuff, no one's even talked about cost. And it's like, I liked the idea of Kona and Nice because I can just about afford to go to Nice once every 2 years. No one can afford to go to Kona every 10 years. Well, I've been looking at working on a coffee plantation or something.
Coffee's the way to go, I think.
Yeah. Earn some money when I'm out there, and then hopefully have a place.
So 2022 was an absolutely phenomenal year, an epic year with 5 Ironman.
Yeah, I was in a lot of trouble.
Completions, including 2 World Championships, which is that's just mind blowing. 2023, you banged out 4 Ironman.
Yes,
last year in
managed to qualify for Nice 2023, which again was, qualification suddenly got, I wouldn't say easier, but there were more slots available. So, being of that age in early 50s, it's a big age group. They tend to have quite a few slots. So I think Lanzarote had 10 slots that year, and I came 8th or 9th in my age group. So, that was Nice 23. So that was a 4th Ironman among the 3 that were non-negotiable. So Lanzarote, Bolton, and Tallinn had become staples on the calendar. So even though I'm only allowed to do 2, these 3 were kind of non-negotiable. Again, the whole point of doing Ironman was like, if I'm going to do more than one, we can go and see the world. And then it's like Bolton every year. You just isn't seeing anything of the world, Idea why Fiona doesn't even bother coming down to Bolton anymore, because why would you?
She's going to wait for you to go to more exotic.
She's been to Lanzarote enough times to not waste a holiday coming out there most years as well. So,
So last year, then 2024 was a quiet year. Then you only did 3 Ironman events. The usual staple.
A couple of halves in as well, though. So,
I presume then it was Lanzarote, Tallinn, and Bolton that you completed last year.
Yes.
With a few halves.
Actually, no, because there wasn't a Bolton last year. So no, last
year.
There wasn't. No. So
that's right.
I had to find a new race. So there was a little independent one in Cambridgeshire called Odyssey, and it's the opposite end to Ironman. So there were 70 people in it. You rock up they give you an envelope with all your stuff. You rack your bike in the morning. The race briefings immediately before the start. It's just such a super friendly, lovely little event. That's probably the closest to a DNF I've ever had.
Really?
Swim went well. I was probably 10th out of the water out of the handful of us that were racing. Got on the bike, got about 1k into the bike. I could hear this rubbing noise. It's like, oh, that made my back wheel. Because my TT bike was 14 years old by this point, having done 40 something Ironmans on it, probably. And the back wheel used to move a little bit. So I'd bought some skewers with an Allen key so you could tighten up a little bit tighter, get it really tight. So I thought, right, I need to stop and put the back wheel back in the right place, tweak that. Got off the bike, it's like, oh, where's my saddlebag? I must have come off in T1. So I cycled back to T1, like, there's no way you finished the bike course. No, slight mechanical. Saddlebag wasn't there. Again, with it being such a small venue, it's like, oh, is it in the back of my van? So I went over to my van, had a rummage around in the back of my van for 20 minutes, came out, no, it's not there. Has anyone got a kind of, yeah, eventually someone found some pliers. So I undid it with some pliers, and then the very first part of the bike course was an out and back up to a roundabout that was 200 metres up the road. So when I went up to the roundabout, the time I came back, it was rubbing. So back into transition, hang the bike on the frame, on the racking again, work on it some more. Eventually, someone turned up with a pair of mole grips just as I was about to hand my race number in and go, "This is not my day." You know, of all the races I've ever done, this is the least important. Really fun. I would have enjoyed to have done it, but you know, this is my DNF. Fair enough, I'll take it on the chin. But this guy then came up with a pair of mole grips. So I cycled the bike course with a nice aero pair of mole grips in my back pocket, with the wheel still rubbing after 10k, and it's like, oh well, it is what it is. So after 100k, I blew through the tyre wall because I just rubbed that off on the frame. And again, because I hadn't got my tool pouch stuff, I hadn't got any tubes or anything. Well, I'd got an inner tube, but I hadn't got any tyre levers or anything like that. Luckily, the neutral service guy turned up just as I was walking to the 1 aid station, fixed it. But I knew I couldn't put any power in, so I literally had to get off and walk up the hills, which was embarrassing. But these weren't proper hills; these were just little 4% effort. But I knew if I stood up, then my back wheel would start rubbing and I'd be puncturing again. So yeah, that was
overcoming problems and battering on. Just
randomly, I finished top 10 overall and won my age group. Well, my mate told me I won my age group and I was like, yeah, very funny. I was the only one in it, was I? It's like, no. It's like, oh, so the other guy must have had a bad day. It's like, no, there were 7 of you. It's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's such a lovely little low-key local event. So I had to go back and do that properly this year. So that was good.
It must be nice just to go back to basics too. You know, just a nice wee local,
it's lovely.
no razzmatazz.
Yeah. I often help out at an independent race over here. It's a big independent race called the Outlaw.
Yeah.
And again, you know, transition there's some super fast bikes, but there's a load of normal road bikes, just, you know, sensible bikes that people would buy from somewhere like Decathlon or the local bike shop for a few £100. You don't get that at Ironman anymore. It's so rare that you see a normal bike in an Ironman transition now. It's just all tens of thousands of pounds that people are spending, and I can see why. And if you've got the money, then great, but it's still all about the person that's riding it.
I've always said it. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever buy a very expensive bike because I'm not a machine. I'm not worthy enough to be riding it. I can't justify it. You know, it's taken me like fucking 8 hours to complete a course. There's no point in me having a £15,000 bike because it'll still take me 8 hours. You know,
757, something like that.
757,
yeah.
You know, and then maybe take a toilet break in T2 and just lose the 3 minutes.
Exactly. No, I unfortunately had to buy a bike this year because my other one was just getting too unreliable. Not just the back wheel issue. I upgraded it to Di2 in about 2015, and that was starting to show trouble. So I think it was Tallinn 2023. I was in a bike shop drilling holes in the frame about a quarter of an hour before transition racking was closing because my Di2 had packed up and I had to recable in it. I'd been dashing around town trying to find bits out of a shop. It's like, this isn't good. That year was a bit of a mad one in Tallinn, actually, because it was a very dear friend of mine's 60th birthday, and she said, for my 60th birthday, do you think I could do the full and the half the next day? And I was like, okay, we'll do that. She's like, you don't have to. It's like, no way, you're not having all the fun here. So, yeah, we did the full on the Saturday and the half on the Sunday. And again, on the Sunday, I'd externally wired all the Di2, but racking the bike, I'd turned the handlebars too much, and one of the cables had just pulled out of the junction box. But I got on the bike, and for the first K, I just got one gear. And I was thinking, well, this is going to make a stupid adventure even more stupid, because not only am I going to do a 70.3 the day after a full, I'm going to do it in one gear. But
was it a useful gear at least?
it was kind of, it was in the middle of the block, so it wasn't too bad. And it's a course you could do in one gear, just about. Yeah, luckily I then noticed this wire dangling and pulled over, plugged it back in, and happy days. So that's now become a thing. I didn't tell my wife. That probably wasn't, it's easier to apologise after the fact. I didn't tell my mum either. I'm still in trouble about that. But so I I messaged the missus from the recovery area at the end saying, oh, by the way, I've done something really stupid. But it all came good, because I actually got a slot for New Zealand 70.3 World Championships that day. I'm not a big fan of roll downs, and we'd gone back up that evening just to kind of say thank you to the race director Iron for helping us facilitate doing this, and he actually gave us the entry as a present, bless him. So yeah, we just went up there to say thank you, and they wanted to give my friend Sue a special award for having done an Ironman and a full Ironman the day before her 60th birthday, because that's just an insane level of fitness that she didn't realise how amazing she is and how inspiring that is for everyone. But yeah, they were doing the roll down and we were hanging around, and they'd got like 9 slots left for the World Championship, and they're all going in my age group. And it's like, well, I didn't do a very good time, but I did better than the guy who finished after me, and he didn't do an Ironman the day before. So if that slot's going in my age group, I'll have it, because we've got friends in New Zealand. We've been saying we'd go and visit them for years. So by the time I got home, I was in less trouble because I'd secured a holiday to New Zealand to see our friends.
Every cloud has a silver lining and all that.
Yeah, and then I did the same again last year, and I was absolutely amazed that people didn't understand that was a foregone conclusion, that having done it once, I was clearly going to do it again. So yeah, that's that.
So has this 70.3 thing, it has now also become a thing then?
It has, yes. So yeah, the day after the full, I now do the 70.3 because I've got real problems. I'm the first to admit that. I used to work with a guy who, lovely guy, really good friend. And when I started doing Ironman, everyone at work was like, oh, that's amazing. And it wasn't really a thing back in the early 2000s. So, and he was like, don't encourage him. This guy's got a problem. If someone drinks themselves into a stupor, eventually you have an intervention, don't you? It's funny for a while, and then you realise this person's got a problem. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, I think.
I'm a social worker by trade, and I'm frantically scanning my memory banks, and I don't think there is a referral for an triathlon addiction or an Ironman addiction. Well, less said about it, maybe the better.
It took me long into my life to realise that I've got a very addictive personality. So, yeah, I do.
Well, do you know what? As the man said, you could be addicted to a lot worse.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. No, I'm happy with that, but it's something it's worth being aware of.
So 2025, right up to date, how many have you done this year, and how many are left to do? I suppose it's a reasonable question at this point, now that we've got to know the sort of...
I can't possibly answer that because my wife might listen. No, she knows. She's coming to the rest. So yeah, there's 3 down. So yeah, Lanzarote, which was a sneaky one. You were there. We've had 2 really nice, relatively calm years. I've got club mates who did Lanzarote last year or the year before, and they get very upset when I say it was calm because it was still stupidly windy. But this year, even race morning, they were saying, oh, it's a beautiful calm day, it's going to be amazing. And I was thinking, it's 2010 all over again. And then we turned up that donkey trail into a block headwind at 30 miles an hour, and it's like, no, this is a normal day. So yeah, that was
I was hoping and thinking somewhat naively, having never done it before. I had been to Lanzarote 3 or 4 times on holidays, and I had cycled out there 2 or 3 times as well. So I was aware of the wind, but I was kind of hoping, just, fingers crossed, that maybe it wouldn't be too bad. But The wind turned up.
Yeah, it did.
It turned up.
And yeah, then you just don't think about anything else all day. And yeah,
No, that's it. But do you know
I've
what?
learnt just to not fight it and feed off everyone else's misery.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I kind of,
I'm used to it. But yeah, yeah.
in hindsight, I was kind of perversely glad that it was windy because that's what I kind of had signed up for.
Yeah, you've done a proper one. There's no one can say, oh, well, the year you did it was easy, because it definitely wasn't. And it was hot.
Aye.
Yeah, so yeah.
So,
So yeah,
yeah.
there was that one. Then I went back to Odyssey with a functioning bicycle, because I've eventually bought a new one. Because the other one, again, almost packed up in New Zealand. I went into the swim start at the World Championships on the far side of the planet, not knowing if I was going to be able to change gear when I got on the bike. And that's not really a good situation. That bike's done me proud. I bought it for $2,000 in 2011. It's done a lot of work, so it was time to buy a new one. And
it's like Trigger's broom, that bike.
no, I'll send you some pictures of the paint job on it. I'd got a full Iron Maiden respray on it.
Class.
Yeah. So yeah, the first question everyone asks me about my new bike is, when are you getting it sprayed? And it's like, well, when I've saved up some money, because again, there's no way I was getting an off the peg, stupidly expensive bike. So I've gone what the magazines are called an entry level bike. For someone who's now done far too many Ironmans, I'm still only buying entry level kit for it. So yeah, I went back to Odyssey with a proper bike. I think there were only 50 of us racing this year. And bizarrely, I'd got a mate come down to support me, and I came round on the first lap of the bike, having overtaken a few people. And I went, am I in second? And he was like, no, you're winning. I was like, I can't be winning a race. This is mad. So I then cycled like an idiot for a day until someone overtook me, by which time I had completely blown a gasket and suffered horribly on the run. But yeah, that was my first ever proper podium of a race with not very many people in it. So that was fun. And then, so that was start of July. And then last weekend of July was the brand new Ironman Leeds, which I was a bit sceptical, I must confess, when they said, oh, we're doing this new race in Leeds and it's going in the Yorkshire Dales. It's like, this is a national park and the first weekend of the school holidays. You're not riding the bike there. It's not going to happen. And eventually it became clear that wasn't happening. But they put a great little course together. The organisation was beautiful. Roundhay Park, where it's set, is lovely, great for spectators and beautiful. And it's a really tough course. And yeah, I paid for having had fun on the bike on the run. Limped round. So what I find weird is you do races like Lanzarote and Tallinn and Leeds and Bolton and Wales, and you're thinking about bike times. I've not done Wales yet, by the way. That's on the to-do list. Lanzarote on a good day, someone like me, I'm thinking 6 hours, 6 hours 15. Bolton was getting so bad with the road surface and the crazy climbing that I'm thinking, I'm going to struggle to get around 6.5. Again, Leeds, I was thinking this is going to be a 6.5, 6.75 hour bike ride from the recce's I'd done. Turned out it was a lot quicker with the closed roads, so just over 6. But next up is Tallinn, and I'm thinking, can I go under 5 hours here? I mean, that's the difference you get in Ironman courses, and none of them are easy. There's a whole different level of pain on a fast course. Yeah, but hopefully it just ends a bit quicker. So yeah, the Tallinn's next. I can't pretend to the missus I'm not doing both races because she's coming back with me this year, so that'll be nice. And then Nice for what turns out to be the last World Championships there, so I'm really glad I got to go there one more time, because it's it's going to be a rare treat to get to the World Championships again. Cost and B, qualifying's going to be a lot harder now, which is good. So yeah, this year we're back to 5 Ironmans, and it's going to be 4 in 10 weeks for the last 4 of them.
You're absolutely bonkers, Chris, but in a great and lovely way. If you don't mind me saying that.
I mean, people say, "Oh, this is amazing." It's not. It's just it's just going through the process. There's nothing big or clever about doing Ironman. You'll have realised that. It's just putting the time in. The only clever thing is being able to persuade your brain to commit to it. And after that, it's just following a process. The clever thing is, I think the clever thing is one and done, and going, right, what else can I do with my life that's exciting?
Have we got a full tally of a number or a roughness of numbers in terms of how many have you actually completed then? Have you ever worked it out?
I've completed 48, so that's 45 Ironman branded races for people who get obsessed about these things. And then I did the outlaw triathlon in 2013, which is where I started wearing the cowboy hat because I thought that'd be funny, cowboy outlaw.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so much support that I've worn it ever since. And it's a stupid thing to do in a hot place like Lanzarote, wear a black cowboy hat made of straw. But I get so much more support and it entertains people. And I think
it's your thing. It's cool.
and hopefully it also persuades a few people not to take it quite so seriously. This is just fun, and I can do quite well while still being an idiot, making it fun. So don't take it too seriously, and you might actually even do better if you just enjoy yourself. So yeah, and then I've done this Odyssey one twice. So yeah, we're currently on 48. I had this amazing plan that I wanted Lanzarote to be my 50th Ironman and my 20th Lanzarote. I thought, what a perfect combination that is. It's like, oh yeah, but I've got to qualify for one more World Championships. And then I did that, and it's like, brilliant. All the boxes are ticked. Everything's in a row. And then they announced Ironman Leeds. And I've got 8 club mates going to do Ironman Leeds. And it's like, I can't not do it. Again, it's, for Ironman, it's cheap because it's local. I actually just stayed in my van the night before, just camped in the car park, which they allowed, which was amazing. So yeah, and I'm really, really glad I did do it. Yeah, my 50th one, if I get round Tallinn, is going to be the World Championships in Nice. So that's not a bad alternative to Lanzarote.
That's a solid, valid 50th celebration right there.
But I'm not stopping. Not a chance.
Well, I was going to say, have you any notion of stopping? But you have no notion of stopping.
It's just a constant negotiation about what I'm allowed to do next year. So I crewed for a club mate who's now a good friend up at Keltman this year, which is one of the X-Tri series. I've always Norseman just niggling away in my head as the ultimate, Even I guess Kona's the ultimate, but in a different way. Norseman is the ultimate test. And I had a friend who did it years ago who was one of my mentors. I can remember him getting to 20 Ironmans and thinking, wow, this is insane, this is amazing. And then when I got to himself, I was like, no, it isn't. But he was always a massive mentor, and he does really stupid things like, huge ultra runs. And I try not to spend time with him because I'm so easily persuaded to do stupid things.
You'll get sucked into something else.
Norseman's kind of always been on my agenda. But luckily, and another good reason for keep doing Tallinn is it was originally on the same weekend, start of August. So it's like, right, that's good. That keeps me busy and occupied.
Tallinn then, therefore, can now be pitched as a safety and precautionary.
Well, unfortunately, it's moved. There's no room to squeeze Norseman in before it, but it's a ballot, etc., etc. And also, Norseman, they do the whole black finisher, white finisher T-shirt thing. So the first so many get to go up the mountain. But this isn't age group related or anything like that. It's just so there's a point where you suddenly think, well, I'm too old to get that black T-shirt. So the clock's ticking on that one. So that's kind of gnawing away at the back of my mind. But having done Keltman, I was thinking, I like this. Again, it's not the opposite of Ironman because Ironman's lovely and supportive and wonderful, but it's just such a small little tribe, the X-Tri series. So they limit the races to 250 people. You have your own support crews. It's, again, like the smaller Ironmans, like Lanzarote, it's got that kind of family feel to it. And they're a lovely bunch of
intimacy.
Yeah, I think they're mad, and that's worrying. You dive into a freezing lock at 5:30 in the morning, and then run up a Munro at the end. So I crewed for him, and that kind of got me thinking a bit. So I think the plan next year. The missus loved New Zealand so much. She's like, "Can we go away every winter? Because it's just nice not to be in the UK in the winter because it's miserable." And like I say, we don't have kids, so we don't have to worry about getting them out of school, so we can go at cheaper times. She said, find a race next January. And there aren't really any Ironman races in January. There's no full distance ones in January anywhere, I don't think. Maybe in Australia. But there's a 70.3 down in Chile.
Right.
That's like, it's not worth going all the way to Chile for a 70.3, which is logistically difficult. But I said, I do know the perfect race in Chile, which is one called Patagon Man, which is in Patagonia, which is absolutely stunning. And randomly, the race director came on one of our training camps on his honeymoon many years ago. So it's like, I'm going to have to drop Ignacio an email at some point, or just a message.
Yeah.
Hello, remember me? Is this a sensible choice to come and do this? That's no longer part of the X-Tri series, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's happening this December. We want to go away January. So I've made this horrible agreement, which I don't quite know what I've let myself in for, of going on a holiday and not taking a bicycle.
Ooh, that's
I
going to
know.
be strange.
I know. So yeah, some kind of short haul destination that's sunny, which won't be Lanzarote, but it might be Morocco, which is about as close as you can get, just for a little holiday break in January. So yeah, that's good.
The missus is going to have some crack trying to keep you entertained then whenever you don't have your toys with you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll probably just take a load of reports and do a load of work.
Do a bit of work, listen to
yeah.
some tunes and
But
chill
then
out.
maybe the idea of a trip to do Patagon Man next year in Chile in December hasn't been completely blown out of the water yet. We've had the rolling eyebrows and rolling eyes, sorry, and the raised eyebrows.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's maybe a long-term plan to maybe do some of the X-Tri stuff and obviously keep battering out Lanzarote and Leeds now. Leeds has just replaced Bolton. It's swap one in, swap one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to travel, and I think do more races. Wales has got to be done at some point. How can I have done 48 Ironmans and not done Ironman Wales, which is one of the iconic races? I've got friends who've done 20, 30 Ironman races, and most people I've met have said Wales is their favourite just for the support. And I think I would have come to Ewell and done that because I've got friends in Clonmel.
Aye.
So that was going to be on the list, but I don't think that's happening for the foreseeable, is it? Until they can sort something out with making a safe swim that's almost guaranteed.
Yeah. I think if they took it to a lake, possibly, but
and that's what
that
they
would
did
be
in
that would
Tallinn
be
for
a
a while.
compromise.
The first year it was a sea swim, and the Baltic is just mad. So the weekend before I went, they said, "Oh, it's going to be a non-wetsuit swim," and then the wind changed direction, and the temperature dropped 15 degrees overnight, and then suddenly they're going to have to cancel the swim. So the first year we swam in the Baltic, which was lovely. The second year, it was all looking bad. So again, such an amazing country, race organisation, and support from the government. 4 days before the race, they moved the swim from the sea into a lake and got all the logistics for that sorted. Because the race director, ex-pro athlete, he knows people just want to race and they don't want to not do the swim or have a short swim or whatever, if it's all possible. So yeah, they moved heaven and earth to get a lake swim, and we stayed in the lake.
Find a low-lying lake with plenty of trees around it, fairly sheltered, and you're guaranteed your swim.
Yeah. Although this
job's good.
Last year they had blue-green algae in the lake, so we went back into the sea again.
Yeah, there's always a spanner, isn't there?
There's always going to be a spanner. I think being in race organisation, I mean, yeah, I've helped out at Outlaw for years. I've helped out at Ironman Lanzarote on registration and stuff like that because I just love meeting people and giving a bit back. And I've seen kind of a bit behind the scenes at Ironman Estonia, and these guys don't get enough credit. They work so hard. Everyone thinks they pay Ironman their, let's say, €300, shall we? Because we never know who's listening to this for your race fee. And people just think that goes in the race director's pocket. It's so far from the truth. There's so much expense. I mean, I know the World Championships are crazy expensive, but the infrastructure goes up a whole other level. They build footbridges and they, we're getting fleeced, there's no doubt, but they've spent proportionally a lot more. Ironman's a profitable business, but at the end of the day, it is business, and they'll charge what people will pay. But the individuals who are putting the races on are just amazing people who we should be very thankful to, along with obviously the teams of volunteers that make it all possible. And I'd recommend volunteering at a race to anyone because I think it makes you a better athlete. I think seeing the other side of how it works make you think about your race differently and appreciate it more. And again, probably be a bit more considerate to yourself and others.
Yeah, no, good shout, Chris. Chris, thank you very much. That is some story. That is an amazing journey that's, I suspect, only halfway through.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the time I went to a festival. Shall I throw
If
that one in
any,
very briefly?
what's that one?
So I think it was 2010, the year I had that good race in Lanzarote because there was no wind. Iron Maiden were headlining a festival at Nebworth, which used to be a very renowned venue, which is in the home counties just outside London. And I don't like to miss it when they tour. And they weren't doing a tour that year. This was their only show in the UK that year. So it's like, well, could I do this? I've already signed up for Ironman Bolton by the time this has been announced. It's like, well, I had a really good race in Lanzarote. I reckon I could get down there in time for Iron Maiden. So Friday night, Alice Cooper was headlining. So we went down and you can't not see Alice Cooper if you've got tickets. So yeah, Friday night we went down and watched Alice Cooper. But I had to rack on Saturday. So we drove home from Nebworth up to Preston, which is about 4.5 hours at that time of night. So then Saturday morning, racked the bikes, drove back down again. I think Motley Crue were playing. Rammstein headlined. And again,
Class.
you can't not be there for that because their live show is just exceptional. So as you'll find in most training manuals and what most coaches will tell you is the night before an Ironman, the best thing you can do is be jumping around to mad German heavy metal with pyrotechnics at about 11 p.m. at night, probably 200 miles away from where your race is happening. So from there, we drove to the swim start at Bolton. I probably had 2 hours kip in the back of the van. Got up, did the Ironman with my ears still ringing, finished, stupidly waited for a good friend, clubmate to finish rather than just getting straight off and going. And the missus, bless her, she'd come along and had a sleepless night and she managed to sleep in the van for some of the day, but she was absolutely knackered. So we got in the car, got about an hour down the motorway and she went, "You're going to have to drive." And I was like, but rigor mortis is setting now. I've just done an Ironman and been sat in a car for an hour.
Really?
So yeah, then drove down to Nebworth. The event organisers, it was a festival called Sonosphere, which doesn't happen anymore. They were amazing. I got in touch with them and said, "I'm doing this really stupid thing. Do you want to make some PR out of it?" And I don't really think they understood. But I said, "Is there any way I can get kind of in and out quickly?" So they gave me a press pass. And I had to put a charity donation in for the Terence Higgins Trust, which was, an absolute no-brainer. More than happy to do that. So I could just literally drive in to the edge of the site and then just go in with my press pass. So I think as we parked the car, I was putting my big New Rock boots on just as they came on stage. So we missed the first number of Iron Maiden. I wasn't allowed to mail my medal. She said, "You'll break your teeth headbanging."
Oh, that's magic. The idea that you're on a podcast called From Iron Maiden to Iron Man, only you decided to do it in reverse. You went and done an Iron Man and then went Iron Maiden.
Yeah. And the most surreal thing was,
brilliant.
I was absolutely ravenous afterwards, as you can imagine, running on adrenaline and fumes. So we went to one of the little dirty Chinese takeaway, and I'm sitting propped up against a bin, kind of, almost passed out. I looked at my watch, and I was like, "There's still people doing Ironman Bolton. We haven't reached the cut-off time. We're still before midnight."
Oh man,
yeah, that was a bit surreal. The last year at Bolton,
brilliant.
there was a festival on. It wasn't quite as difficult. It was Lytham Festival, which is kind of probably 40 miles from Bolton, 20 miles the other side we live. And again, Def Leppard and Motley Crue were playing the same day the Ironman was on. So as soon as I knew that Motley Crue were headlining, Def Leppard were on first, it's like, I've seen Def Leppard. I've seen them both a few times, but it's like I can cope with just getting Def Leppard's encore because that's when they're going to play all the good stuff. So again, finished the Ironman, jumped in the car, drove to Lytham, and then just jumped around to Motley Crue for 2 hours and half a Def Leppard set. If they're running late, it was brilliant. So we saw most of Def Leppard and the whole of Motley Crue.
Hey, you are not wise in the head.
No. There's something clearly unhinged, but it makes me happy and it seems to make other people happy. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Oh, that's brilliant, Chris. What a way to finish a podcast. That is unbelievable stuff. That is
I advise
fantastic.
none of this to the people I coach. They have very serious.
No.
Don't do what I do as I say, not as I do. Most definitely.
That's what I was trying to get to. If anybody wanted to link it, I'm glad you did interrupt me because I would have missed out on that epic story. That's fucking brilliant. From Iron Man to Iron Maiden, I love it. If people want to get in touch with you, Chris, and they want to follow your story, I want to get some advice, want to get some coaching, want to meet you in the flesh, maybe out at Club de Santa or whatever way, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Oh, that's a tricky one because I'm so rubbish at. So I have got an Instagram account, and more these days we do. I say I help out on triathlon camps at Club of Santa, and people come along these days, young people, and go, "What's your Insta?" And I was like, "Here's my phone." I am on Instagram, and I think it's under Chris Wild 666 because what else could it be?
The number of the beast.
Yeah, exactly. So I will start checking that, and at some point I will definitely set up probably an Instagram page for my little coaching squad, which is called Team Raven. But my social media is basically Strava. I just put a few photos on Strava, so it should be easy enough to find on there as well.
Brilliant stuff.
So
good man,
yeah,
Chris. Well, yeah, I'm
more than happy to chat to anyone about any random ideas they have, and yeah, I coach people who are just trying to complete, or I've got one guy, really good friend from uni, who's doing ultra running, so I've had to learn how to work that out, and yeah, we have fun messing around with that as well. So yeah, more than happy to talk nonsense to anyone, as you've learned in the last however many hours we've been chatting.
I will go and hunt out your Instagram page for you and put the link in the description of this podcast before it goes out. Chris, you've been a great sport. It's been absolutely amazing chatting to you. All the very best for the rest of the races for the rest of the year. You keep doing what you do.
Thank you. And I will see you in Lanzarote on the start line again.
I hope so.
You can't just do one. You've got that special medal waiting for you now.
We'll see.
And someone's got to look after Shane.
Well, that's right. Absolutely.
He always says he's never coming back, but he always does.
He has to keep going back till he gets number 10.
Yeah, exactly. Although then it's 11 for his next special medal, so...
Stop it. Since we recorded this episode, Chris actually went to Tallinn and completed Ironman in 9 hours, 54 minutes and 11 seconds. Fantastic performance, Chris, and the first time he's done sub 10. Not content with that, he went and got up the next morning and completed the 70.3 in 5 hours, 35 and 25 seconds. Wild by name, wild by nature. Good man, Chris. Keep on rocking.